Hey, what's going on, everybody? BlazeHood here, coming at you with another Naruto Shinobi collection video. Alright, this time I want to take the second out and explain terrain states. The homie in the comment section said he wanted me to explain more stuff like terrain states and other stuff. So I thought terrain states would be self-explanatory, but maybe it's not. So let's get into it and let's talk about terrain states. In case you don't know what terrain states are, terrain states allow you to change the map in the game and change the map to where it completely cucks the enemy you're facing. There are units in the game though that have like terrain immunity or gear that could give them for a couple of turns terrain immunity. This Kaguya is a perfect example of being able to change the terrain, and I think one of her gears also gives her the ability, or it may be in her ability that gives her immunity to terrain. So let me see something. It's either this one or the other Kaguya. Yep, here it is right here. Terrain immunity already in her second ability. So she's immune to enemies that change the terrain. So if you do face a Kaguya, if you do to face this Kaguya, keep in mind if you change the terrain, she'll be immune to it. So whatever effect you're trying to cause to slow her down or slow down the entire team, you may slow down the entire team, but this unit specifically, you won't be able to slow down. There's also units that have gear that also give them the same thing, like this right here. For 3 turns, high chance for terrain immunity. Well, since you already have the terrain immunity, you really don't need this gear. So why would you put this on here? This gear is actually for the godly version, and this darker orb one is for for her right here. But you can put this on her if you wanted to. Don't know why you would though. You do have that option. You'd be dumb to do it, but um. You can also give it in the abilities, not in abilities, but the potential. I think you also have the ability to do it there too. Um, Skip and cancel immunity. Does she have terrain immunity on her? She might not have it, but there are units in here who also have in their potential system to give you a certain amount of turns immunity to a terrain. So there are ways around the terrain, but majority of there's also units that can destroy it, like God Lead Hashirama and Hashidara. And I think version 2 God Lead Sakura can also destroy terrains. And the Kizuna, Sasuke, and Itachi, and maybe the Kizuna, Naruto, and Sasuke can destroy terrains. But off the top of my head, I think those are the 3 or 4 that can destroy terrains. Now, like I said, there are ways around the terrain, but for the most part, because there's so few units that have like terrain immunity, or well, I should say it right, innate terrain immunity, meaning it's like in their ability or something like that. You don't have to give it to them like in gear or something else. They usually just have the innate terrain. But there are so few units that have that mostly whenever you cast a terrain on someone, they're pretty much cucked by it. That Kaguya was the perfect example of it. Let me go back to hers because her terrain, by using her second skill, allows her to change the terrain to where it completely destroys the enemy. Like hers is Goddess Second Coming. Enemy low chance to insta kill when attacked. HP, chakra, attack, defense, speed, and skill damage minus 15% per turn for a max of 660. And then it's terrain lock. Terrain locks are as they sound. They lock the terrain so you cannot change them. Because normally, if someone casts a terrain on you, you can normally just switch over the terrain. You can switch over the terrains either just one or two ways, either with your first skill or your second skill. There's very, 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 very few units in the game that can change it with their first skill. I think it's only a handful of units. I think the only God Lead Sasuke and the God Killer version 1 Sasuke are the only 2 in the game, off the top of my head, I think can change the terrain with their first skill, with their attack. And most of the units in the game change it with their second skill. I recommend changing it with your second skill. I like changing it with your second skill. At first, when they first started doing that with Sasuke, it made sense. And then you just constantly just kept attacking and keeping a person locked in terrain state. I don't care about this. Leave me alone. It made sense during that time to have a unit that is constantly kept attacking you. That way you wouldn't have to worry about using their second skill unless you needed it. But nowadays, it works better to be able to control the terrain state and when you want and when not to use it. Especially because you may be trying to use one unit's terrain state to benefit the entire team and attack with the other unit, but then the other unit constantly changes the terrain. A perfect example of that would be the God Killer version 3 Sasuke that just came out and the version 1 Sasuke. Version 1 Sasuke changes the terrain with his first skill. Version 3 Sasuke changes it with his second skill. So if I wanted to use the version 3 Sasuke's terrain state, which gives you like anywhere between 100 and 1,000% skill damage increase, if I wanted to constantly benefit from that with the whole team, I would have to constantly keep switching between version 1 and version 3 Sasuke's terrain states because they keep switching them back and fucking forth. Originally, it was only God Killers, but after a certain point, they still started letting God Leads be able to change the terrain also. There's actually a few units that can terrain lock, but if you have the Hashidara or the God Lead Hashirama, or the version 2 Godly Sakura, or Kizuna Sasuke and Itachi, you can destroy the terrain state. Once you get terrain lock, the only way to destroy it, only way to get past the terrain lock is to destroy it. You need to destroy that terrain, and those 4 units that I just listed are the only units in the game that can do that. So if you don't have them, you cannot get rid of the terrain. You are stuck in the terrain. Or if you had terrain immunity, you would be able to get past it that way, bypass it that way. But if not, you're pretty much fucked by it. I've been cucked by her terrain state a lot. This one specifically, her terrain state a lot, because it just reduces my speed, my skill damage, and everything by 50% for a max of 660, and it just keeps going down and going down. And because it's a terrain lock, and and once you have a terrain casted, you're pretty much fucked. That terrain stays that way forever. It doesn't go away. She doesn't even have to be alive. She could die and her terrain would still be active. That's another thing you need to keep in mind. If a unit dies, their terrain doesn't just go away. Once you are stuck in their terrain, you're stuck in their terrain. You can tell the terrain's changed fairly easily, like, because the map will change. The map will look normal like this, and then you can see up an icon next to this lock stuff right here, another circle will pop up, and it'll indicate that a unit has changed the terrain. And you'll see that the map will be completely different, and the stuff will actually just benefit the entirety team, or it'll benefit the well, I guess it'd be like a disadvantage to the enemy. There are units in the game that do give units a massive buff, and with their terrain state, like is Godly Sakura in here? This Sakura right here is the one that can destroy terrains. I'm actually glad she's in here too. Let me see something. Let's see. Does it tell you right here? I want to see if it tells me, or is it in the abilities? I know she can destroy terrain. I just wish it would tell me. What the fuck? Cause I remember being advertised that way. Oh, you douchebag. Where is it at? And you telling me about this, but it doesn't tell me where it says the terrains. I know she can destroy terrains. This is bothering me. Oh, well, anyway, she can do it. Damage increase, removing immune negative special state. There it is. I just didn't read hard enough. I'm being like a Dragon Ball fan right now. Fucking read, asshole. Remove an immune to negative special states, and then remove terrains with a basic attack. She can remove it with a basic attack, so she doesn't have to use a jutsu or use chakra at all. She just uses a basic attack once her second skill is activated, and the fourth one, the fourth one, she'll just remove it with a basic attack. She doesn't need to do anything. Just basic attack with it. She'll punch you. Terrain state's gone. That's actually fucking stupid. That's actually probably the easiest way to get rid of a terrain state. Most units have to use a skill. She can just punch. That's actually really good. And I guess that still gives her some usability in today's meta, being able to just punch and remove a terrain state. But like I was saying, you pretty much change the terrain. It's very, very obvious that the terrain has been changed. If you can't tell the terrain has been changed, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with you. I guess you need glasses or something. But once the terrain is changed, it stays like that. And and if you don't have any of those counters that I've mentioned before, you're pretty much fucked. Unless you know something I don't. You could also just simply change the terrain, but if you're being constantly debuffed like Kaguya's, and your speed is dropping and you can't do it, your speed or cast speed is being dropped, or you get stunned or paralyzed and you can't change the terrain, you're stuck like that. Like I said, you could also just simply change it, but if anything happens to stop you from being able to simply change it, you're fucked. So it's like terrains are almost in a way some of the most broken, but sometimes the most balanced things in the game, because there's like, it makes it seem like there's such an easy way to get rid of it, but then situations arise, and then now you can't get rid of it. There, like I said, like I was gonna say, there are units in the game who have the terrain states vary. Sometimes they hurt the enemy, sometimes they help the ally, sometimes they do a little bit of both. Who was another unit that has a terrain state that actually helps? That just like, I know the version 1 Godly Sakura, hers gives like pretty much just gives the team infinite chakra. What does Obito's do again? I know he has a terrain state, but I can't remember what his does. Let me see something. Change the terrain to Kamui Invitation and Party. Remove negative special state and God state when attacked. Kamui mode, Obito state, skill immunity. High chance to grant instant action when attacked. Okay, so it removes negative special state and God state whenever they're attacked. That's actually very helpful right there. And it doesn't necessarily, it helps the team, and it doesn't necessarily just hurt the enemy. as opposed to like what Kaguya does. It just simply just hurts the enemy. That's all she does. She just wants to destroy you. That Kaguya is still freaking amazing. I wish I had her. What other units are there? Because there also are god leads. It's not just god slayers, like I said. Like this card, there are some units that will instacast their terrain. Also, I didn't mention that. I need to mention that too. Like this guard right here, he changes the terrain to the dancing sandstorm if there's a god enemy at the start of battle. So there are some units that, like, if they see a god lead anywhere near them, they will change the terrain. There's nothing you can do about it. So that actually does put you at a significant disadvantage, because if you bring a god against him, he'll instantly change the terrain. Like, that'll be the first thing that happens. Another unit that can just instantly change the terrain is the God Slayer Itachi. The first one, I think it was. This one right here. If there's a god enemy to start a battle, high chance to change the terrain to a dominating world. Like I said, he has a high chance. Gara had like a guaranteed chance. Gara's gonna do it. He has a high chance to do it. I've seen it happen majority of the time, but there are times where I've seen it didn't happen. Like, I got lucky going up against him, or I got unlucky whether I was using this unit to try to get the high chance to change the terrain. So there are units in the game like that. What will be truly broken, and I don't think they'll ever do it, is if they had a chance to change the terrain at the start of the battle and it was a terrain lock. That would be absolutely disgustingly broken. You would have to constantly be bringing a unit to destroy, or a unit that had immunity to terrains. Otherwise, you'd be stuck in that terrain and you'd be taking whatever effects that terrain is throwing at you. So you need to be careful about that if you are taking units in terrain, and be careful about taking multiple units on your team that can change the terrain, because you don't want to be in a situation you have to fight over terrain. That's something I hate, and it's very fucking irritating, because you want to use one unit's terrain is to attack with everybody else, and they work. Normally these units work well in the team together, but because they one change the terrain and one also changes the terrain, it becomes a situation where you have to fight over the terrain, which I hate. But it is what it is on that. Is there anything else I wanted to cover in terrains? I think that's it. I think that's all I wanted to say with terrains. If I missed something, let me know in the comment section below, because I feel like there's something I'm missing, but I don't think there is. Also, if you die in like 3-3 or PvP and somebody has a terrain active and you revive, you'll revive in their terrain. So it doesn't just start the match over with them not having a terrain anymore. You'll just come right back in their terrain. So it's really probably a bad idea if you got beat really bad and the terrain is still active. It's probably a good idea for you just to quit out of that, because if not, you'll just be stuck in that terrain. And I don't think it resets the effects that it had on you. So if you had a Kaguya's terrain state and your max was like 660%, I think once you revive, you'll be right back at that 660%. So I think, don't quote me on that one. I'm not sure about that one. I think that one's true though, because there's been times where I revived in a terrain state and then they just quickly killed me again because I was too stupid to just quit out of that, or I guess you could say too stubborn. So, yeah, I think that's it for this video right here, guys, about terrain states. That's all I really wanted to cover. Other than that, I'm good. And once again, I want to tell you guys, make sure you guys check the pinned messages and the guides under the Shinobi collection stuff right here. That way we don't keep getting the same questions 1,000 times. Also, check the guides playlist in the description box of my videos. And thanks again for all the birthday wishes. I really do appreciate that, guys. Birthday was pretty cool. I went to work and my homeboy texted me, and I asked him, did he have any to text me happy birthday, and I asked him, did he have any, know somebody has some PS5s. So hopefully he'll hit me back up with the link, the plug for the PS5s. That way I can get me a PS5. And I know they probably gonna upsell like a motherfucker on that PS5. I know they're probably gonna be like $800 for the PS5, even though it's only worth $500. And that's the one with the disc drive too. If they got one without the disc drive, I'm gonna try to see if I can get it down to 700 then, because I know they're gonna upsell on that damn PS5. But if I do manage to get it, what I'm gonna plan on doing is go around for my birthday, asking people for a couple hundred and to put it towards the PS5 and get me a PS5 finally in this house. I'm tired of using my fucking PS4. I'm tired of it fucking turning on. It sounds like a goddamn jet engine every time I try to play something. It sounds horrible. It's loud as shit. Like sometimes I hear it over my TV. It's fucking ridiculous, and I'm tired of playing with that loud ass jet engine they call a PS4. It's fucking stupid. It's time to upgrade. So hopefully I can get me a PS5. He hasn't texted me back yet, but hopefully by tomorrow I'll hear something back. I am praying to God. So make sure you guys pray in the comment section with me that we get this PS5. I'm tired of doing it because I keep entering contests to get it. I just cannot get a PS5. But other than that, that's gonna be it for this video right here, guys. You guys like this video? You want to see more? Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that bullshit. This me, your boy BlazeHood. Peace out.